Okay, I got a couple carvings I want to do here, um, and I just kind of do them freestyle, freehand. I use my Berry King swivel knife. Get this little C.S. Osborne scratch awl that I've polished on the end. And what I'm going to do is make a couple special coasters here. On this one right here, I'm just going to carve a large K. Hear a train coming. You may hear a train in the background. Every time I turn the camera on, here comes that old train. I've got this pretty wet right here. This other one is a little drier. Got a couple more here. We'll just see how this goes. After this coaster dries out a little bit, I'll bevel around it with a craft tool B802 and a B803, my favorites. Pretty much what I've always used to bevel around my tooling, my carvings. You kind of get set in your ways and use tools and get used to them. It's kind of hard to switch around to different tools, but it's okay to try new things out at the same time. Once I get this Berry King swivel knife in my hand, I've never changed. I just like the thin, narrow blade and the feel of the brass barrel here. As you can see, it didn't take long to carve that K in there. And let's see, it might need a little something else. I might just put me a little mark right there and put a wheat stalk around this. This is for my friend Tom. He's a poet and a leather worker. He was nice enough to write a poem, so I'm going to return the favor here. Or just a little bit of appreciation for what he did. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing or get an idea of what I'm doing here. Put a long stem down there and then put little nicks on each side. This leather is probably in the neighborhood of 14, 15 ounces. This piece might be considered just a little bit too wet to carve. This next piece I'm going to carve is cased out a little more, not quite as wet. There you go, Tom. Okay, as I continue with my carving here, I've got these two coasters at the side here. This is the one I'm going to carve next. It's about 14 inches thick, vegetable tan saddle skirting. It's got a few range marks on there, which gives this piece a little character. Kind of like the man I'm going to carve this for. So it's drying out a little bit, so I'll take this sponge, dampen that, and I'm about ready to go here. Later on, when I bevel around these, I'll be using the craft tool B802. That's a really nice tool, in the B803. Like I said earlier, I've used these for 50, 60 years and kind of used to them. Later in years, I probably had this Barry King swivel knife for 10 years probably. The yoke is becoming wore out, actually. I've used it so much. And it's got the thin, narrow blade, hollow ground straight. Works best for me. And I've got this little C.S. Osborne scratch compass that I've polished the end on. I like that if I want to scratch out my design directly on to the leather, or a lot of times I'll use, for example, if I've got a flower drawn on a piece of paper, I can hold that down still and use this to transfer my flower to the piece of wet leather. And a little bit later, I pulled out the really old leather stamping maul. This has fresh rawhide on it. It's really thick. And underneath, this appears to be an oak handle. This is really old, and it's been used and reused over and over. Basically, I didn't know there was anything else when I first started out. I used this for a number of years, and my dad and grandfather and everything used this. So makes a unique kind of a sound too, and you can get a rhythm going with that. I need to dampen this just slightly. As I'm talking here, it's kind of drying out on me. Let's see, got the grain going that way. Which way would the cow's gonna run through the brush like and scrape the either barbed wire or trees or brush, whatever, and it gets scratches on the butt side of the hide there. And I'm just going to carve Tom in here, and hopefully I've got enough room to do what I want to do. It's always fun to just sit in there and do that and hope it comes out good. Better leave that alone. Okay. Put a wheat stalk down here. Put this piece in front of the fan, let it dry out. Then I'll bevel around my letters there. Kind of a fun thing to do. Just take off and see what kind of trouble we can get into. All right. Thanks for watching. Doing a couple coasters here for my friend Tom, and his last name starts with a K, and he's a leather artist and a poet, and he did a poem for me, and this is just a little return gift here. As you can see, I spent some time beveling here, and I'll spend a few more minutes getting this to suit me. And then I've got some harness oil that I really like. I'll put a light coat on here and let it soak in. And then I'll sign and date the back of the coaster. And then put some Phoebing's tan coat, or sometimes Pro Resist. Either one of those work real good. I think I'll use tan coat. It brings out the color a little more actually. And it will preserve the finish somewhat. And continue beveling with my craft tool bevelers until this kind of suits me and I find a quitting place. Thanks for watching.